Hi, I'm going to do a video on Suzuki Book 3 for violin, song number 2, which is Minuet. I'm going to play through it once and then we can talk about all the things in here. At that point, I would go back to Minuet and play it again. That's what DC Minuet 1 al fine means, and then you go until it says fine at the end of Minuet 1. Alright, so Minuet 1 is great because you already know it from Suzuki Book 1, but they've added some things to make it a little more challenging for you. Most notably, there's ornamentation in this song. Okay, so there's some ornaments added, and ornaments are just like it sounds. Like you would add ornaments to a Christmas tree, something to make it just sound a little more fancy. And this is something they did very often in Bach's day, okay, back when Bach was writing this. Okay, so I'm going to go over what some of those are. You'll see, mostly they're in parentheses, but I would say just do them. You see a squiggle, or you see a squiggle with a line through it. So a squiggle is an upper mordent. It means you just do a little trill with a note above it. It's just one trill, basically. Okay? A lower mordent is just the opposite, okay? You do a little trill with a note below it. Okay? For the most part, in the Baroque era, the ornaments are going to come right on the beat. For the most part, they have one exception, which they wrote out for you in measure 3. So let's just use that one as an example. It's a lower mordent, right? You're trilling with the B natural right below. Okay, and your idea there is just to make it as quick as possible. Okay? In measure 5, you have another lower mordent, but this one is just going to be right on the beat, okay? Okay, that's the idea. You do have some upper mordents, like at the end of Minuet 1. So keep an eye out for those. The one other thing here is, if you look in measure 8, you've got a grace note, but just like before, in Baroque music, the ornaments always come on the beat. So that's why they kind of wrote out for you. If you didn't do it already, that grace note is going to come on the beat. It'll be something like this. Just a quick little note before you get to the A. Alright? Alright, next thing you definitely need to look at is Minuet 2 is in G minor now. Okay, so we went from G major now to G minor, which means you have to watch out for your flats. Okay, so biggest thing here we have backwards ones, right, for your B flat, your E flat, and even up here your F natural, right, that's no longer a sharp. Okay, so backwards one for those, and then you also have to watch out for a squished fourth finger, right? So when you're on the A string, you'll have E flat, so right above your third finger. And on the E string, you'll have B flat. Okay, so make sure you're getting those flats. If you want to think of it as a first finger scale pattern that's just been shifted back, you should be pretty much all set. Okay, now, so that's the big thing for Minuet 2. Now there's something else though too. I think there's some shifting in there. It's in parentheses, but I think it's probably the wisest move. So if you can look at the fourth and fifth measure of Minuet 2, you'll see a first finger on that D. That's your time to shift up to third position, right? Because our first finger's on the D. Okay, now when you do that, you do have to be very conscious of the flats still. Okay, so your first finger will be on D. Your second finger will be on E flat, which means it needs to be a squishy too, basically. And then F natural, and then shift back down to first position. Okay, that's the first shift. The next shift starts in measure 12. It's similar idea. Okay, so you're on D, shift up to third position on first finger, and then you play third finger, but notice they've put a lower mordent there. So you do need to do to E flat, which again is going to be a squishy too. And then fourth finger, which will be a space, because it's a G natural, and that's an F natural. And then shift down. Biggest thing there is just to be watching out for your E flat. Once you've got your E flat squished, then you can have a space for the F natural and a space for the G natural. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. The last thing that is really tricky, in fact, I didn't do the fingering I meant to do when I played it through for you, but in measure 27, you've got kind of a funky thing going on there, and in my edition I have 2 optional fingerings. I think you should probably try the upper fingering. So I will demonstrate that here. Notice there's a bracket over the G to D. That means you're going to want to block your finger. That means you're going to try your very hardest. I still don't like doing this. You're going to try your very hardest to put your finger on both strings at once. And you can roll a little bit, but you don't want to have to lift up your finger at all. Okay? And then the next thing is you're going to play F sharp with your second finger. That makes sense, right? But instead of lifting it up to then go play C natural, which is in a different spot, right? You're going to actually just squish your first finger right up there on the A string. Okay, so it feels a little weird. It's like not a B, it's actually a C natural, so it's like a really, yeah, it's just an unusual thing. I wouldn't even call it like you're changing positions, you're just moving your finger up. And then you go back to normal, third finger. Okay, so try that a few times. It's a little weird. If it's really not working for you, you can try the fingering on the bottom, but I think for now we should stick with the fingering on the top. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me and let me know. Thanks.